Good morning, everybody. We have a quorum, and it is 9:32. I'll call this meeting to order. And the first order of business will be the election for the committee chair. And need a motion to receive the report.
Motion to receive.
All those in favor? Okay. And next, the First Nations Relations Committee proceed with an election to fill the position of chair for the remainder of 2023.
I'll move that.
Okay.
Second.
Good. Also, First Nations territorial acknowledgement.
I think we're not going to call nominations.
Should I not have done the acknowledgement first?
You can do that if you wish.
Oh, that's what we do in TASIS, so. Okay, well, I'm going to do that. The chair will acknowledge that we're located on the traditional territory of the Lekwiltak people. Okay, so election. Who would like to stand?
I think we need nominations.
I'd like to nominate Director Mahini.
Okay. Do we have a seconder?
I don't know if we have a seconder yet, but if we do, Director Mooney will need to accept that.
Do you accept the nomination?
Don't you have to have a second?
Do we have a seconder?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, for elections, there is no need for a seconder. It's strictly a nomination process. So if a director is willing to stand, let their name stand. There may or may not be an election if there's more than one nominee, but there's no need for seconders.
Okay, thanks for that.
I rescind my second.
Do we have any further nominations? Hearing none, welcome to the chair's position.
Is that how that works?
Wow, thank you.
Okay,
You want to move?
What do I have to move? Oh, do I have to move that?
You don't
Well,
have to.
the question is whether the newly elected chair should move to the chair's position. I think there are some advantages in terms of where the cameras are displaced, that kind of thing.
Hop into the seat.
Process-wise, I'm just wondering if you called the question on the motion that we proceed with the election.
The vice chair moved on, so I'm assuming that was accepted.
okay, thanks for that. Would you like to take the chair then, Director Mawani?
Apparently. Well, then I have Tom to cheer me on from the side, right? Tell me how to do what I'm supposed to do. I was kind of hoping to do the Gerald vibe and just sit where we already sit.
You have to be here 3 terms before you're allowed to do that.
Dang. Are you gonna stay up here too, Martin?
Oh, if you want me to.
It's kind of,
I'm fine with this.
it's up to you, though.
4 and 5 more was one. Congratulations, Chairman Winnie. Oh, thank you. Okay. Now what?
So the next item on the agenda would be the adoption of the agenda for today.
I'll move adoption of the agenda for today.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have a cue card for what I'm supposed to exactly ask people now?
We don't have cue cards, but it's pretty straightforward.
Okay,
I'll try and help if you need it.
is there, all in favor? Any opposed? Agenda adopted. Okay, we do not have any petitions and delegations. The next order of business is the adoption of the previous meeting minutes.
Oh, the adoption of the minutes for April 26th.
Do you want to turn your mic on? so I know
Second.
that you had said that. Thank you.
So motion is on the floor.
Motion on the floor. And any discussion? Seeing none? All in favor? Any opposed? Great. Perfect. Minutes adopted.
Next is business arising from the minutes, if there is
Oh,
any.
is there any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, we will move on to chair's reports. Well, seeing as how I just got here, I don't have one yet. Sorry. Dave, is that disappointing for you?
We were all expecting a lengthy one, so a little bit awkward here, but all right, carry on.
What would you for the next one?
I'll make up for it next time, I swear. So, staff reports. The First Nations territorial acknowledgement of the Quika First Nation.
I'll move receipt of the report from the CAO.
Thank you.
Second.
And I believe Asley will speak to this.
Good morning, committee members. Azalee Millwood, First Nations Liaison. We have received correspondence from the Quika First Nation to be added to our overall written territorial acknowledgement, as well as for Area C. It's been indicated in the alternatives where in Area C. It's not all of Area C, but I was able to engage with the Lihuitao Nation and have a discussion with both chiefs of the Weewakai and Weewakam, asking where the Quika would be in the territory. And they gave me a brief explanation, and then I reached out to the Quika First Nation, and that is written in their letter. So my recommendation is that we add the Quika First Nation to the overall territorial acknowledgement for written and online correspondence, as well as to Area C. I believe it's in Sonora Island. It's the change to the Area C verbal would be Sonora Island, Stewart Island, Butte Inlet, Toba Inlet, verbal territorial acknowledgement on the oral. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Or comments from anyone? Okay, well, I'm grateful that we at the SRD are learning and expanding our knowledge and understanding of the First Nations on whose land we live and work. And anybody like to move anything?
I'll move option 1, that the Quika First Nation be added to the written territorial acknowledgement and the verbal territorial acknowledgement for Area C.
Second.
Okay, great. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Look at us go. Great. Okay, do I have to say something like officially passed or anything like that? Using the gavel,
Typically, the chair would
perhaps?
say the motion is carried.
Oh, the motion is carried. Love that. The motion is carried.
So of course, all these motions, recommendations will go to the board for endorsement.
Yes, great. Motion is carried from here on to the next meeting. I kind of do. I've never had a gavel before at my disposal. Okay, so the number 2, First Nations territorial acknowledgement of the Slammon First Nation.
So I'll move the receipt that the report from the CAO be approved, and then I'll have a subsequent after.
What do you mean approved? Do you mean received?
Wow.
I was
Be received, sorry,
else that I
excuse
didn't know
me.
about yet.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I believe Asley will speak to this as well.
Yes. We have received correspondence. Recently, we did not add the Tla'amin Nation to the overall territorial acknowledgement until we received further engagement or further understanding. Well, there was no further engagement. We did receive a letter that from the Tla'amin Nation stating where they would like to be acknowledged in the territorial acknowledgement. I think that is sufficient enough. In the letter, it did indicate that they have territoria in electoral areas B, C, and D. I recommend that we add the Tla'amin Nation to the overall territorial written acknowledgement, as well as Area B, which is the Cortez Island. As indicated, I am not sure where in C and D they wish to be acknowledged. I am proposing further engagement before we add that to the oral territorial acknowledgement. And I would just like to point out that I am to be mindful of capacity and time of the nation, so it may take me time, and it will happen eventually. However, we will add them to the territorial acknowledgement. In the meantime, we have had territorial acknowledgements being used since March of this year, and I believe that has been successful. And once again, we are learning, and my recommendation is that we add the Tla'amin Nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Azalee. Any questions? Oh, Director Colburn.
So I think this is great that while we're doing this, that nations are reaching out and letting us know, are teaching us, are, trying to help us along in this path of our recognition. When you're unsure, it's hard. So people from the nations reaching out to us, I think that's fantastic and makes us more aware. So thank you for that.
Yes, Azalee.
Chair Mawini, I would just
Something
like to say that I would always like to engage with the nations, and it is a learning process, like we said, and I appreciate the letter, and it's going to be an active document. We could run into a situation where we have more nations that are overlapping, and we'll learn about that. That's part of reconciliation. So thank you. I think that we've done well as a committee in learning that, and I look forward to the future of learning more about that.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Director Davis.
No question, but I'd like to move the recommendation that the Tla'amin First Nation be added to the written territorial acknowledgement, including the electoral area B verbal territorial acknowledgement, and that the electoral areas C and D territorial acknowledgements be revisited following further consultation.
I'm really grateful that you read that whole thing out loud. Unfortunately, probably an error on my part, we have done receipt, but not completely. We have to vote on it still, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's probably my fault. Who would like to, anybody, wait.
I'll move receipt. We already moved receipt. We already seconded it. We need to
Okay,
vote.
we have to vote on it. Any opposed to receipt? Seeing none, we can carry on with the
Move
option A that Director Davis so kindly read for us already.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any opposed? Motion carried. Look at us go. All right, Northern Regional Games.
Move receipt from the CAO. Move receipt of the report from the CAO.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any report is coming forthwith, or we?
Yes, I think Azalee can speak to this, but I just want to say grateful that Azalee is taking her July long weekend and going up and supporting the nations and Zabalas in their games, promoting Connected Coast, solid waste, all things reconciliation SRD, and she's transporting people all over the place in a van. She's going to do it all this weekend, so very
Amazing.
grateful to everything that Azalee's doing and supporting us up in Zabalas. And I know Director Mayor Colburn is going to be there helping and supporting. And we have City West, we have Connected Coast up there, we have the games, we have food, we have transportation, we have all kinds of great things. And Azalee is leading that for us, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, that's correct. So I'll be picking up the van from the Recreation Center tomorrow with the SRD logo on it. And we're going to be driving around, so picking up folks from Campbell River and heading on up. And then I am going to move on to Fair Harbor in the same day and come back, and then just be available, not following any schedule. And it's going to be a weekend of culture, a gathering of the Nuu-chah-nulth Nations, which are Moashat, Muchalat, that is Kayukit, Nuchatlit, and Ihadis. all gathering to celebrate this. So I think I'll learn how much there'll be elders there, young people. So yes, thank you.
So just that if you're thinking, what is my role in this, I'm going to tell you, I have a very important role. And Director Dahl may appreciate this. I go up every year to Cayucet and Fair Harbor. And one year we went up and we got 3 flat tires in Fair Harbor. And Director Colburn or anyone else never told me there's something existed called 12-ply tire. There is no gas stations, no places to change, no air, no cellular, and we had 3 flat tires in Fair Harbor. So I made sure that the van has 12-ply tires for Azalee. That was a nightmare, that trip.
I'd like to point out I don't know anything about him buying tires.
I didn't say where they came from. I said we have 12-ply tires for Azalee.
Thank goodness. Yes, go ahead.
I just want to appreciate Azalee's availability and the support from the SRD through these games. It's going to be a weekend, so we're expecting about 300, where we usually, have half that. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun, and I'm really thankful that we get to be a part of such a great, the Northern region has taken on themselves. They rotate it through each nation, each area. And I'm just so thankful that they've allowed us to host in Zeballos on Ihattaset territory when it's New Chatlet's turn to. So it's just a real coming together of nations that'll be really fun and great for the kids, so.
Director Vanesh.
Sounds like a really great event. I think there's room at the SRD in general to improve our social media presence. And I'm wondering if this might be an opportunity to sort of celebrate the work that's happening and the SRD's role in it. And wondering if I need to make a motion for that or just I can make a staff suggestion like this.
Feel free to make a suggestion. I think Renee can probably fill you in and Azalee on how we are and what we're doing to promote. And
If you're trying to do social media from Zeballos, it might be a little difficult. The internet connection is not all that
Even
great.
taking some photos and putting out an Instagram story after the event once social media, once you have Wi-Fi access.
Yeah, I think, while Azalee's there, we'll try and capture as many activities and probably do some outreach to the nations to make sure they're comfortable with us sharing that story and the activity as well.
Thanks.
Well, I was going to ask if there could be a slideshow later. So maybe depending on, or a report from Azalee or Director Colburn.
yeah, I think we'll, at the next First Nations, we'll follow up with some, a summary and maybe a slideshow of what went on. Yeah.
That would be amazing.
And hopefully it doesn't involve tire changing. That'll be a success.
If it does, we want photos. So do we have any further comments or questions? You have a
It'll be
segment.
super busy. There'll be somebody always on that road. Don't have no fear. It's going to be busy roads that weekend.
Do we have to vote on that now?
Yes.
Vote on receipt. All right, vote on receipt. All in favor? Any opposed? Boom, carried. Next. Oh, wait. Director Colburn, did you say you had a subsequent? No? Okay. Proposed board meeting and community-to-community event in Cayucet.
Have receipt of the report.
Thank
Second.
you. Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, if I may, so this is just to confirm dates for a C2C and a board meeting in Cayucet. We've been working on this as per board's directions for years and years and years. I think we're very close to pulling it off. We received funding from C2C. I have an intention to make a recommendation on some Growing Communities funds, so there will not be additional requisition funding that's going to be required to the event. We have secured accommodation and we have transportation plans for a 2-day event, so that includes having a board meeting and then doing a C2C the next day. So we want to make sure that people reserve in their calendars these days. So it's months in advance so that we all know what we're doing.
Thank you, Chair, or CAO, or somebody. Any questions or comments?
I think it's a great initiative and really welcome and appreciate all the staff work that's gotten us to this point where we can decide if we're doing it.
I agree. I'm an enthusiastic supporter of this event happening. Okay, Dr. or Mr. Director Davis, I'll get better at this, I swear.
I like the doctor. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I think it'd be great that we do a few of these. I realize it's an added cost, but in terms of building bridges between communities, I think it'd be really useful. My only concern is being October, there may be weather events which might be problematic. My question is transportation. Are we going to be driving and boating there? Are we at that stage in the development, or are we flying?
Yeah, I think we're doing a combination of driving and boating, yeah. And the reason we know we're doing it in shoulder, October, understanding the weather, but accommodation is a big deal, right? Because it's a huge fishing season there, and so accommodation is full during that. So then we're just trying to creep up on the edge of the good weather and keeping our fingers crossed. October may not be too bad, but yeah, a combination of vehicle and boat.
Okay, thanks.
Director Colburn.
I had some, if you take last year, for example, October was beautiful, right? So the hope is that that's the way it is. Also, the road into Zabalis is ridiculously good. So I think that, the weather would be the boat aspect of it. I don't think you're going to find that there's any issues on the gravel. Even the Fair Harbor Road, I was just out there the other day and it was like, I'd never been on that road before. It's excellent. So good work for forestry and our grading company for doing that. But I think with anything, it would be the boat that might be the issue. But let's pray that, keep our fingers crossed, right?
I just have a question. Is it 2 nights? Will we be arriving on the 10th, doing the board meeting on the 11th, and then staying the 11th night as well?
I think we're still working it out, but yeah, the idea, ideally, we would get there in the morning on the first day, hold the board meeting then that night, the next day do the C2C, stay that night, leave the next morning, if I got that right. I think that's the plan.
So getting back at the end of the 12th, day of the 12th or the day of the 13th?
So if, let's say we went on the 11th, come back on the morning of the 13th. Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question about that too. Or are we going to be driving SRD vehicles, or are we going to be driving our own vehicles that may not have 12-ply tires?
Yeah, no, we'll hit Kermit up here, but there could be a lot of sales on 12-ply tires I see coming. Yeah, no, we'll organize everything. Julie, she's on her own. She does it like constantly, and she lives up there, so we're not going to accommodate her in driving. She's going to take care of herself. No, we'll get everybody up there. Yeah, whether we get a bus or whatever, you won't be driving. It isn't the plan that you drive up there individually. No.
And my final question about that would be, I know we're not quite going to Zabalis, but I would maybe.
No, we are. You have to go through Zabalis.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I thought it was like a side road.
You go the highway, Zabalis, Fair Harbor, boat to Walters Cove.
Oh, good.
You
Well, I
have
hope
to
we
go
can have a
through.
tour of Zabalis along the way.
Yeah, that'd be really sweet, actually. Just even just
Yeah.
an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lunch and yeah.
Few nightclubs.
Yours? Just let me start a list here.
Are there any further questions or comments about the community-to-community event? Oh, yes, Director Dahl.
Was a float plane considered as a way to get?
We'll look at that too. Yeah, I haven't ruled that out. considering two things financially that have been helpful is that, one, we did get some C2C money, so the province supported us. And I think I'm anticipating the board supporting a little C2C or little community, Growing Communities Fund. So I think we have a little latitude. So I'm going to look at the plane and see, because that would be ideal. So yeah, I'll look at it. Do you know somebody with a plane? It'll solve the tire problem, eh?
A bunch of helicopters
Yeah.
fly information like we're going into Vietnam.
Yes, Director Colbert.
There's a Sched flight. There's Sched flights out of Gold River. So that's a quick little jaunt, Gold River, Cayuget. It's a quick little nook here.
How many seats are on the plane?
Probably 6.
All right, we'll look at that though, for sure, yeah. Yeah.
And then you'd be able to see Mushla territory as well. Right? So win-win.
Well, sounds exciting. Okay, so we've received the report and now
Haven't voted on it yet.
we have to vote on the report. All right. Are there any opposed to receiving the report? Seeing none? Report accepted. Carried.
I have a subsequent
Great.
that we recommend that moving forward in principle with holding a C2C event in Cayuget between the regional district and the Cayuget-Checklesit First Nations in conjunction with the October 11th board meeting.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Director Dahl. Any further discussion? All in favor? No one opposed. Great. Next, we get to talk about correspondence.
Move receipt of the correspondence, June 17th news released from the RCMP.
Second.
Thank you. Is anybody would like to say anything?
I'm just gonna give a tiny bit of background and why the inspiration of including this on. Thought it was relevant, first of all. But when the Cloetses First Nation did, and Director Colburn will remember, did their addition to reserve at the very start of it, it was quite ugly in the community, spray painting on the roads and lots of racial protests at the office here. It was pretty ugly. We didn't anticipate it, but it got out of hand quickly. They're actually doing work now. They're putting in sewers, repairing roads, and this is just another. It seems this may. I don't know if it's the start of something. I hope not, but the little pushback that there's been a long period of time where there's been no activity because they've had to do a lot of work and planning. And now they are, and now there's a little bit of pushback though, and just bring it to the attention of the committee. And I don't know if there's anything that the committee board is interested in, but, or just keep an eye on it, or I don't know, but just for the committee's information.
Thank you.
I have a question. Have we done a press release around like the increase in reserve land here? Have we done any communications to the public?
Yeah, we did the additions happened several years ago, and we did a lot with that. And but then there's just been a ton of planning on their part for moving forward, and there hasn't been a lot of visible activity until now. They're getting shovels in the ground and they're doing things now. So.
Would it be appropriate for us to put out another press release, just showing our support for it and welcoming the growth that's happening?
Yeah, that's kind of putting it on here. Is there something that we want to do, right? Or I'm not certain.
Director Dahl.
I was talking to one of the members on Saturday, and they're expecting to come out with a statement from the Wewak-Kai-Wewak-Kum and Tlotsis, all speaking against the kind of behavior that happened here. So I think if we wanted to come out with a statement, we should talk to the First Nations and have something that stands with them on whatever their statement's going to be.
I appreciate that.
So
I'll make a motion that staff work with.
Shoot. Does anybody oppose to receipt? Seeing none? Carried. Would you like to say something, Director Vanesh?
I'd like to make a motion that staff work with local First Nations in a press release supporting the development that's happening and welcoming the growth that we're seeing.
Thank you. Thank you. I guess I have to ask, would you like to say something, Director Davis?
I don't know if this is really our place, but I'm hoping that somebody will be taking steps to monitor the area better. Maybe it's going to need some hidden bush cams, but I guess that's not really our place for that. That's for them to decide.
Well, I guess that's my question, right? I don't know if I have talked to the chief. I had coffee with him the other week after it happened, and it's costing them money. They're having to look at security, and they can't fence the whole site. So what this is meaning is they're out of pocket money, and they're going to have to monitor it. I don't know if there's a role for us in it, but there is a financial impact to them as a result.
Through the chair, I'm just wondering if we could make a financial contribution just to cover the cost of some bush cams for monitoring the site as a gesture of goodwill.
So maybe a suggestion, I think if we wanted to make a motion about financial support, make it broad. I don't know exactly what they want. And just another little insight into if the committee's interested, I've kind of reserved a little room within the Growing Communities Fund. If the committee wanted to speak to that, I think there could be some funding there that, again, wouldn't impact requisition.
Great. Well, I would say that it would be nice for us to be able to support the Cloetzies as they are facing this unforeseen hurdle, which sounds like it's not only an emotional impact, but also a financial one.
So you have a motion on the floor currently.
Oh, do I have a motion on the floor? Oh, yes. Would somebody, okay. Oh, Director Dahl.
If it's okay with Director Vonage, maybe we should add that if the First Nations want us to write something condemning this kind of, racist activity, that can be included. It could be, we support the growth and everything, but we don't support the kind of stuff that's been going on. That's what, from what I understood on Saturday, that's what their press release is going to be, about condemning this kind of behavior. So it may be that they want us to go that way. Just give staff the flexibility to accommodate them.
Yeah, and we can do that. I'd say we'll take that as, direction to staff.
Okay, so we don't need to make like a formal amendment. Perfect and amazing. I guess we get to vote now. Okay, all in favor? Seeing nobody opposed, motion is carried. Are there any director's reports? Oh, sorry, you have a subsequent, I forgot.
Further to that, if you need a motion, I would move that staff reach out to the nation with the offer of a partial financial contribution to the safety, possibly coming out of the Growing Communities Fund.
Lots of seconds. Is there any discussion on this idea from folks? On this motion? Okay, great. Well, all in favor? And seeing as how there's nobody left to be opposed, motion is carried. Moving on to director's reports. Anybody have a surprise director's report that is in their laptop or their pocket?
You already approved the agenda, Madam Chair, so I don't know how we could have surprises.
Well, okay, fine. Okay, that means that we're on to, dare I say, termination.
Move termination.
Second.
Thank you, thank you.
I was just going to make a comment that Yuquat Summerfest is coming this summer, And it's on August 5th. And I've been formally invited as mayor, and I was just going to ask if any of the other mayors or directors have been invited.
I'd love to see an email invite to all of us. That'd be great. I'd love to see an email invitation to all of us. That'd be great. The easy way to let us know.
Yeah, well, it's not my place. I was just curious because this comes directly from Mowachap-Mushlat First Nation. I've attended a few in the past more informally with a sort of back channel invite, but in this case there was a formal invite because it's the 100th anniversary of Friendly Cove being designated as a National Historic Site. So there will be a celebration regarding that too. So I'm putting it out there, though. I think if you were to inquire, you would certainly be invited. So, yeah.
Director Colburn?
I have received an official invitation and I have not RSVP'd. I talked to one of the elders at the school the other day, and it's just logistics, and that back road is because we're leaving from Gold River, right? And that back road, whether it's summer or winter, is just like, ugh. So I haven't RSVP'd yet, but I will probably be attending.
Okay, now do we circle back to termination?
You're finished debate.
Are we finished debate on termination? That was what that was? Fascinating. All in favor of termination? Boom, there we go. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for